Nightwolf number 11, Shadows, Flesh, and Owls. Part 1, The Shadow Returns. Jackson City was quiet. Too quiet. A man ran through an alley, panic in his eyes. I didn't do anything, please. The lights flickered, then the shadows moved. They stretched unnaturally along the walls, crawling, twisting until they formed a figure. Marcus Matthews, the Shadow Man. You always say that, he whispered. The shadow behind the man rose like a living thing, wrapping around him. No. A blur dropped from above, Nightwolf. He slammed into Matthews, breaking the shadow's grip. Miss me? Nightwolf said coldly. Matthews smirked. I never left. The shadows exploded outward. Walls darkened. The alley became his domain. You can't fight what surrounds you, Matthews said. Nightwolf activated his suit's light emitters, flooding the alley with harsh white beams. The shadows recoiled. Yeah, Nightwolf replied, I can. The fight was fast. Shadows lashed out like tendrils. Nightwolf countered with light bursts cutting through them, closing distance. Matthews tried to vanish into the darkness, but Nightwolf anticipated it. A UV pulse detonated, disrupting the shadow form completely. Matthews collapsed back into physical form. Nightwolf pinned him down. It's over. Matthews laughed weakly. You think I'm the worst thing out there? A pause. You have no idea what's coming. Nightwolf didn't respond. Minutes later, police lights filled the alley as Commissioner Daniel Mercer and Detective Raymond Ray Kessler took Matthews into custody. Nightwolf stood in the shadows above, thinking, what's coming? Part 2, The Flock. The moon was silent. 6 bodies, all the same. Faces stretched into permanent smiles. Skin altered. Fingerprints, gone that burned clean. Nightwolf stood over them scanning. This isn't random, he said. He activated the deep tissue scanner. Layer by layer, skin, muscle, bone, identities reconstructed, 6 missing persons, all connected by one thing. Lullabelle's Moonlight Pizzeria, a children's restaurant chain, animatronics, parties, smiles. Now closed, abandoned. Nightwolf's voice hardened. Of course it is. Hours later, he stood outside one of the old locations. Dark, rotting, silent. Inside, dust, broken machines, faded decorations, and something else. Movement. Nightwolf stepped deeper into the building until he heard it. Metal tools, cutting. In the back room, under flickering light, a man in a sheep animatronic suit worked over a restrained victim, surgical tools in hand, calm, focused. Nightwolf stepped forward. That's enough. The figure turned slowly. Eliza Varn, or what was left of him. You're early, he said calmly. Nightwolf's fist clenched. This ends now. Before he could move, something grabbed him. Then another, then more. Figures emerged from the darkness, twisted, altered, smiling. The survivors, the flock. They held him down, unnaturally strong, unfeeling. Nightwolf struggled, then snapped. He fought back hard, precise, brutal. They don't feel pain, he muttered. Then I don't hold back. He broke free, taking them down one by one, but it was too late. Eliza Varn stepped back into the shadows. Perfection takes time, he said softly. Then he was gone. Nightwolf stood in the wreckage, breathing heavy, surrounded by broken bodies that still twitched, still smiled. The victim on the table barely alive. Sirens approached. The next day, the news spread. A new killer has emerged in Jackson City. They're calling him Professor Sheep. Nightwolf stood in the wolf cave, watching the report. This city just keeps getting worse, Bruce Parker said from behind him. Nightwolf didn't turn. It's evolving. Part 3, Epilogue, the Parliament, an old church, hidden, forgotten. Candles flickered in the darkness. Figures stood in a circle, all wearing owl masks. The Nocturne Parliament. One stepped forward. The wolf grows too bold. Another spoke. He hunts without permission. A third. We are losing control of the city. Silence. Then, a final voice. Cold, then we remove him. The group nodded. High above, an owl watched from the rafters. And far away, unaware, Nightwolf stood on a rooftop, looking over his city, hunting monsters, not knowing he had just become the prey.
Today or last time?
Nightwolf number 12, Break the Wolf. Part of the beta storyline. Part 1, The Man Who Feared the Wolf. Rain poured over Jackson City. Thunder cracked across the skyline. Inside a warehouse on the outskirts, men trained, armed, disciplined, mercenaries. At the center of them all, a massive figure stood, towering, scarred, wearing a reinforced mask styled like a wrestler's faceplate. Titan. His real name had been forgotten, buried with his childhood. A voice echoed in his mind, a nightmare that never left him. A wolf in the dark, watching, hunting. He clenched his fists. I don't run anymore, he growled. I break what hunts me. Across the city, on a rooftop, Nightwolf watched. New player in town, Bruce Parker said through comms. Name's Titan, former underground wrestler. Life in prison since he was a kid, wrong place, wrong family, father's crimes. Nightwolf's eyes narrowed. And now, he built an army. Nightwolf stepped forward. Then I tear it down. Minutes later, the warehouse doors burst open. Nightwolf moved fast, taking down mercenaries one by one, silent, precise. But they weren't amateurs. They fought back, hard, gunfire, close combat, chaos. Nightwolf adapted, disarming, countering, breaking through their ranks. Then, a heavy impact. Boom! Titan landed in front of him. You're the wolf, Titan said, voice low and controlled. Nightwolf stood his ground. You brought an army for me? Titan shook his head. I brought them to watch. He charged. The impact alone shook the ground. Titan was strong, not just trained, enhanced. Every hit carried weight. Every move was calculated like a fighter in a ring. Nightwolf dodged, countered, struck, but Titan barely slowed. I dreamed of you, Titan said, grabbing Nightwolf and throwing him across the room. Every night. Nightwolf rolled, recovering instantly. Then wake up. He activated a shock gauntlet, landing a direct hit to Titan's side. Titan staggered, then smiled. Good. The fight escalated, brutal, relentless, but Titan wasn't trying to win. Nightwolf realized it too late. Boss, we gotta move, one mercenary shouted. Titan stepped back. This isn't the end, he said. This is the beginning. Smoke grenades filled the room. By the time they cleared, Titan and his top men were gone. Nightwolf stood in the wreckage. Bruce's voice came through. He didn't come to win. Nightwolf looked toward the exit. No. A pause. He came to test me. Part 2, Quick Shade Falls, Night Fell Again. A gala event downtown. High profile. Crowded. Perfect target. On a distant rooftop, a figure adjusted his scope. Calm, still, precise. Quick shade. One shot, he whispered. Inside the crowd, a politician laughed, unaware. On another rooftop, a shadow moved. Nightwolf. I see him, Bruce said over comms. North building, wind steady. He's lining up the shot. Nightwolf didn't respond. He was already moving. Quickshade exhaled, finger tightening on the trigger. Thwip. An arrow struck the rifle, knocking it off target. The shot fired, missing completely. Quickshade turned instantly, but Nightwolf was already there. The fight was fast, faster than most. Quickshade lived up to his name, moving through shadows, striking, retreating, never staying still. But Nightwolf adapted. You're good, Nightwolf said, blocking a blade. Quickshade smirked. Better than good. Nightwolf countered, disarming him piece by piece. A final strike, Quickshade hit the ground. Nightwolf pinned him down. It's over. Quickshade laughed lightly. You think I'm the only one? Nightwolf tightened his grip. I don't care. Police sirens approached. Moments later, Commissioner Daniel Mercer and Detective Ray Kessler arrived, taking Quickshade into custody. Ironcrest, Mercer said firmly. As they dragged him away, Quickshade called out, You're already surrounded, Wolf. Nightwolf stood in silence. Above the city, storm clouds gathered again. Between Titan, the Parliament, and everything rising in the shadows, Jackson City was changing. And the war was just beginning.